All right, welcome back to True Story. This is John Gibson. Today, joining us, we have Aaron Brooks. Aaron is a good buddy of mine, just a great guy. He's a BJJ black belt, the owner of a BJJ Academy here in Chicago. Aaron, thanks for joining us, man.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
My pleasure, 100%. So, I guess for everybody, just to kind of to give some context here, I met Aaron kind of just through the BJJ community here in Chicago, probably maybe going on 2 years ago. And it was through a really good friend of mine, Leor, early mentor of mine, who really, Leor's a great guy. He's always a very positive person. But when he introduced Aaron to me, he really spoke to the fact that you were such like an amazing teacher for like kids, like an awesome instructor for kids. And immediately that got my attention. I was like, really? So, because it takes a certain type of person to be able to, one, have the heart to do that, but to have the ability to communicate to kids and be effective. So like, I just personally, like for me, for my own pleasure, wanted to kind of start there and kind of pick your brain and say like, I guess what attracted you to maybe like working with kids or are there any sort of like key sort of takeaways that you've learned, from that?
Um, Man, I never thought when I started doing this that I would be teaching kids or
Mm-hmm.
that I would love doing it so much.
Really?
I mean, I guess my story is the same as like other young athletes. Like I started teaching the kids class to earn like a couple extra bucks so I could sign up for tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
But it for me it took away a lot of like the selfishness of the sport.
Mm.
Because like if you want to succeed to a degree, like you gotta focus on yourself a lot, you know?
Sure, sure.
Yeah. So it just taught me a lot about being a better person, like
Mm-hmm.
having more empathy,
Mm.
you know, generally caring about other people and
Mm-hmm.
how important it is to set young people on a better path too and like be a good influence in their life so that you can
Mm-hmm.
like a little bit of kindness, even though it's like jujitsu, like it's not necessarily going to put them through college or anything like that.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
a little bit of kindness goes a long way, and you never know
Mm.
what kind of path it can put them on. You know,
Yeah, I totally agree. And how long something like that will stay with them or can
right?
potentially stay with them. For
Hmm.
sure. I think of my man, all the mentors in my life were, it all started with probably a moment of kindness. It was something that was a
Right.
unique moment. It was like, whoa. And then set you on a different track. And that's awesome, man. Let me ask you this now. One, I just have to ask out of the shoot, how do I pronounce your academy name?
It's Pika, like Pikachu. Uh,
Uh-huh.
Pow.
Pow. Okay. So, all
Yeah.
right, perfect. Pow. The second part I wasn't positive about, but for everybody, check them out. They're IG. They're available. It's a new academy here in Chicago. Can you
Hmm.
talk a little bit about what it was like bringing that dream to fruition and then doing it maybe during like a pandemic?
Um, that was another thing that uh I never even imagined doing. Like as a
Mm,
20-year-old starting to do jiu-jitsu and MMA, like your fantasy is becoming, the UFC welterweight champion or something. I don't
right.
know.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
So that that dream kind of piggybacked off of doing things like teaching the kids class.
Hmm.
So once I really started developing a passion for teaching and being a mentor, stuff like that,
Hmm.
um, and I started getting higher in ranks, like brown, black belt. Um, that idea started getting kicked around more. It was other people telling me like, "Hey, man, you should open
Hmm.
your own place." I'm like, "Huh, I wonder how that would work out." So it's actually been in the works for man, like 2 or 3 years.
Sure.
Um, and it just kept getting pushed back for different reasons. Obviously, there's the pandemic.
Hmm.
Uh, One of my instructors passed away.
Hmm.
Um, Tons of stuff like different locations. There's politics and jujitsu stuff like that.
Hmm.
Um, And honestly, for me, that was kind of a blessing in disguise,
Mm.
the pandemic, because I got a big opportunity to sit back and do lots of research,
Mm-hmm.
kind of talk to other gym owners, see
Mm-hmm.
what does work, what doesn't work, finding the right location too.
Yeah.
Like that took so long. It's not as easy as people think. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it felt, I haven't felt a lot of stress doing this. It's felt very natural and very fun.
Wow,
Learn.
that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful. One thing that I was aware on the peripheral, but I was not aware until I started to do my research.
Mhm.
Was you may actually be the most active competitor I've ever spoken to, with the exception of maybe like Monaro or Molinaro.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
Yeah.
I don't know anyone that has competed as much as you, man. Like, I was just looking up some references before we spoke today, and what tournament have you not done in the past 5 or 6 years? It's just amazing. And I
Yeah.
just wanted to pick your brain about maybe key takeaways you must have learned just through the experience of competition. And maybe I'll phrase this two ways. Any key takeaways from jujitsu competition as well as MMA competition? Because I know they're different things, but
Mhm.
wow, like what cool, unique life experiences I think you've had.
Yeah. Man, it's crazy. Um, especially, I had this talk with a few different people at the tournament this past Saturday, and the older you get and the higher ranked you get, it
Mm-hmm.
seems like the harder it gets,
Mm-hmm.
because with age and jujitsu being your rank, uh, you acquire more knowledge and you kind of get into your own head a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Sure, sure.
Um, when you're younger and you're hungry, it's like you just go out there and have a blast, and that's the important thing, I think, that
Mm-hmm.
people need to remember. It's really important to know that we're very lucky to be doing this,
Right.
and it's supposed to be fun.
Right.
Like if it's not fun, you wouldn't do it. Like
Right.
if you're just forcing yourself to do it for some weird reason,
Mm-hmm.
that might not be the healthiest way. Like if you have something to prove to yourself or something to prove
Mm-hmm.
to somebody else, it's, you might win,
Right.
but at the end of the day, you're going to put a lot of unnecessary pressure and pain on yourself potentially.
Yeah. Yeah. And you miss so much of potentially of what jujitsu can bring you, I feel like, because it's so funny you said that, Aaron. And I don't know if this resonates with you at all, but that's what brought me in so many ways to jujitsu. I had some stuff to prove to myself.
Right.
Um, and
It
I
does.
Yeah, and once I achieved that, and it wasn't about winning a medal. That wasn't how I proved it. To me,
Right.
it was certainly just through the relationships and the trial and error, mostly error, training,
Yeah.
and then eventually you do build a confidence from it, a self confidence through that trial by fire. I feel like, and
Right.
that is such a beautiful thing, and it really helped me foster relationships with like my peers going through that for whatever their reasons were. They were so much more intense and
Mhm.
intimate, because you're in that together. And so that really resonated with me. I definitely understand that.
Yeah. Yeah. Pulling up
Yeah.
to a tournament is like a suburban Normandy beach. Like you're all going to war together.
Yeah, yeah, and
It's a
especially if you
different
had.
kind of bond.
Totally. And
Yeah.
especially at your little mini training camp, your little
Yeah.
group. Oh, absolutely. Let me ask you about this. You've competed, in a lot of it, we've talked about this, but a lot of different respects, big, small tournaments,
Mhm.
the fight to win, these huge, sort of other platforms.
Yeah.
What's the difference? You've had all these experiences. Does it feel the same? Are the nerves the same?
Um, that's another conversation I had recently. It's if nerves are a big problem or like something feels off, kind of like my one size fits all solution for
Mm,
myself and like my students, other people, whoever. It's just like You got to do so many of these things, regardless of if it's a fight to win or a naga.
Mm-hmm.
If you do so many, it just becomes a normal thing.
Sure.
There's always going to be anxiety and stuff like that, like pre-match nerves, but the more you do it, the less of
Mm-hmm.
a big deal it is, in my opinion.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
then in that respect, it does become more fun.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
like, you really got to like not care about what other people think.
Yeah. And a lot of people say that, but it's so hard to embrace. But man, that's what
Yeah.
I really love about you. And I love
Mhm.
about, and hope that this doesn't sound too nerdy, but I love about the expression of your jujitsu because you have fun out there, man.
Yeah, I do.
Like you have fun. Yeah. And it's cool and it's fun to watch. It's engaging,
Mhm.
and like you put on a show.
Yeah.
And like everybody check out some of this guy's matches. They're out there and it's a treat. Trust me. And I appreciate that a lot about you, and your
Mhm.
style. So yeah, I agree. It's cool. Do you feel like you appreciate trying to be spontaneous in those moments? Like you just sort of go with your flow. I mean, obviously everyone has their game, right? But
Uh-huh.
do you go out there and you're just saying, "Hey, I'm having fun"?
For the most part, yeah. Um, I've kind of always been like that in different
Mm,
regards. I
mm,
like to be different. I like
yeah.
to express myself in different
Mm-hmm.
ways.
Mm-hmm.
And for the most part, I just like to make people smile and laugh.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah, for sure.
And
It's
something like Fight to Win's entertainment. It's on Flow
yes.
Grappling. There's
Mm-hmm.
lights, there's cameras.
Mm-hmm.
I want to. People are paying like $50 for a ticket.
Mm-hmm.
I want to give them something to be excited about.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. It's such a great platform and opportunity for you to be out there and also not only just showcase your skill, that's cool, but to
Mhm.
like have fun and for your students, what immense pride it must be for them. Their
Yeah,
instructors watch. It'd be cool, it'd be really cool if
yeah,
I was a 12-year-old. I mean, do you remember the feeling of being, 12 and watching the UFC? They'd be like, "Oh
yeah,
my gosh," could you
yeah,
imagine
yeah,
if Hoist Gracie was your instructor?
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's cool. And not that I know that's a crazy parallel to make. I'm not trying to,
yeah,
but it must be just an amazing perspective for those young guys and girls, those students,
yeah. It's a
um,
lot of fun.
who were some of your early maybe inspirations in jiu-jitsu? Like any mentors?
Mentors. Let's see. Uh, you might know Mark Vajovic.
Mm-hmm.
Actually got his black belt from Jay Valco.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm currently in Aurora, Illinois right now, where
Mm-hmm.
we're opening our academy. Mark's from out here too, and as a younger guy, like I had like older instructors, and like when you're a little younger, it might be a little harder to like bond with older
Mm.
dudes.
Sure. It's a big generation gap and
Right.
different times of
Uh,
life. Yeah.
exactly. So Mark was a little closer to my age, and
Mm-hmm.
like you're saying about me, he was competing all the time.
Mm-hmm.
He's obviously like super good.
Mm-hmm.
So when I started out and when I was a little younger, I gravitated more towards him.
Mm-hmm.
He's a
Mm-hmm.
great guy. He's in Korea right now. He teaches
Oh
jujitsu.
wow.
Yeah,
Oh man, that's so cool. What
yeah.
another thing about our community, boy, does it take you around the world in
Oh yeah.
like within two or three people. Like it is really cool how it spreads in that way. My wife is Costa Rican and
Hmm.
we were visiting Costa Rica last year before the pandemic, and we were on kind of she has family on one side, and we were sort of on the other side, and anyway, 6 hours away, and I was
Hmm.
like, I want to go do jujitsu. So I, I'm on vacation. I was like, it'd be really cool, and I get into Google, and from a friend of a friend, I had an invite to an academy in Costa Rica with two other English speaking people, and a seminar for jujitsu was going on that I got to go do for free. It was like, what in the world? If I was into hockey or baseball or football, could I be like, I'm going to go to the New York Giants training camp today?
Right.
It just is never going to happen.
It it's such a fantastic community. Like
Mm-hmm,
I hope it never grows out of that aspect because
sure.
it's like if if you want to be like one of those dreamers that like drops everything
Mm-hmm,
and packs everything. You want to pack everything into your car and travel around and, be a gym rat. You can do that. And not only can you do that, like just show up at a gym and like 9 out of 10 gyms are going to be like, yeah, man, you can sleep on the mats.
Right. I know.
Some of those gyms, it'll be like, the Michael Jordans, the Kobe Bryants of jiu-jitsu.
Right.
Like you can't play basketball and go have a one-on-one game with those guys.
Right.
In jiu-jitsu, you can do that.
Yeah. Heck
Pretty
yeah.
Cool.
And you better be careful. You call out like a guy like Gordon Ryan and you're a blue belt. He might answer your DM. Yeah.
Right.
True. It's true. And I think that our sport, one thing I really love too, and I appreciate, again, with you working with kids too, I really feel like our sport wants to grow so badly, like so badly. And it is growing for sure. But I mean, it always starts with, like, as corny as it sounds, starts with the youth, and
right.
Like you got to start. And I think one thing I grew up wrestling, and I wrestled and I kind of took that as far as I could go. And one thing I say all the time, and I've heard everybody else say at one point or another, is I wish I started jiu-jitsu earlier. We all wish we started earlier, right? So to that end, it's like anything I do to support kids and around that, and obviously positive mentorship, anyway, I think again, we sort of alluded to this earlier, some early UFC influences and stuff like that. But what brought you to your first jiu-jitsu gym? Like, what actually made you say, like, I'm going to go roll around on the ground and give this a try?
I wanted to fight. Like, I wanted to be a fighter. I was super into like UFC and Pride at the time.
Yeah.
I ended up having a few MMA fights. When I started, I did have a deep appreciation for jiu-jitsu. But I, like any other MMA fan, I wanted a little bit of everything. So I was like doing boxing and kickboxing and stuff. The thing I notice is that unless somebody goes all in on the MMA route, they usually pick one thing or the other. Like, you might still do, let's say, for example, striking on top of jiu-jitsu, but it's more like supplemental, like a workout or something. So after 3 years, I just ended up falling into the jiu-jitsu category. I think I was around a blue belt at that time. And I started understanding why people put the gi on.
Yeah. You turned a corner at blue belt. Again, when I was reviewing your kind of competition history, that was a really active time for you. You were all over the place and you had a lot of success there. Like, it looked like you did pretty good.
Yeah. Blue belt was a fun time. I was still like 23, 24. My body didn't hurt as much.
Right. I know. Hey, I understand so much to that. So did you receive your black belt under, was it Vienna Brothers?
Yes.
Okay.
So, Daniel and Pedro.
Yeah. And is that when you sort of transitioned over from more MMA based jiu-jitsu to the gi?
It was earlier than that. I was kind of floating around for a little bit. So, it kind of piggybacks off what we were just talking about. So like after I was having a lot of success at blue belt locally. And my good buddy, Michael Sears, he's over at Flow Grappling now. He was kind of, pulling me out of my comfort zone. So he's like, let's do Pan Ams. Let's go to Atlanta. Let's go to Houston. Like, and for me, that was a huge deal because being like a suburban kid, it was like a big anxiety attack just driving to Chicago.
Sure.
So once I got a taste of that, I was like, man, I need a bigger picture here in terms of people I train with and like knowledge. Like I'm sure you can relate to that. It's like you need different looks.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we started going to Carlson's first, like around 2014. Like I was pretty much almost a purple belt. And then it's like, it's not enough. We need more. Like Carlson has a noon class, and
Wow.
Michael's like, the Viana brothers have a 10 a.m. class too. And I'm like, well, let's do both. So
Yeah. Your vision quest, man.
yeah.
Yeah.
So Ryan Salisbury brought me to my first class at Viana's in
Mm-hmm.
like 2015 with Pedro.
Mm-hmm.
And then it did that commute for like 2 years, like just driving, but like I would drive
Ooh,
there in the morning, like train for 3 or 4 hours, drive back, teach the kids class, train at night.
brutal.
And that's probably why I have no knees now.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Oh,
a bad day. Yeah.
yeah. And then
Yeah.
I eventually ended up leaving that gym,
Mm.
probably like the one in Aurora,
Mm-hmm.
maybe five-ish years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Once I did that, I was like, man, I'm just gonna move to Chicago now because like
Wow.
all the training's down there. So
Yeah.
I was in Chicago
Mm-hmm.
for 3 years,
Mm.
moved back here in September. And while I was
Mm-hmm.
in Chicago, I got my brown and black belt from the
Mm-hmm.
Viana brothers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's
So that's
awesome.
kind of the story.
Yeah, and then that's a wrap. Yep. Yeah. So, transitioning into your own academy, we talked about a little bit what it was like kind of making the dream to come to fruition. Do you have any goals as far as what you hope this next year is going to look like? I mean, I guess just build academy membership, things like that.
Um, hmm, that's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we're getting a lot of interest.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Again, like my roots are out here. I have a lot of friends out here.
Right.
Um, Honestly, I don't have any immediate goals business wise, which is probably going to make a lot of people roll their eyes right now. But I don't have a lot of goals for competition. My immediate goal opening this place is just to have a really happy place for people to come
Mm-hmm.
to,
Mm-hmm.
like a really fun,
Yeah.
like escape for people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm hoping that with that in mind, and like people who know me know that this is the truth.
For sure.
Um, I'm hoping it's just like a labor of love. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And it will be. I believe anything you have passion, what we're doing right now is a part of my labor of love. Like
Yeah.
it will be. Yeah, it absolutely will be. And I do believe that I think with hard work, I
Yeah.
just believe in karma. I believe in these things. I don't know what
Right.
those right words are, but I know
Hmm.
that if you show up and you do the work, that recipe ultimately kind of makes success. And it
Hmm.
doesn't everybody's definition of success is different, but I always feel like, and this isn't about me, but I just feel like to your point, I was just having this conversation separately, and I don't feel like I'm all that bright. I don't feel like I'm all that gifted in the things I do.
Yeah, me too.
I don't, but I am a worker. But man, I
Yeah.
show up and I work, and every day I try to be kind and I try to be good to people, and I'm not successful every single day at all three of those things, but like every day, that's what I try to do.
I'm right
And
there with you, man.
that's it. And I think that people that live on that, again, that vibe or that wavelength attract each other and they help each
Hmm.
other. And in our community, every community, there's toxic things, right? But I think
Right.
for the most part in jujitsu, it's good people. It's good people.
Hmm.
Um, and there's just a higher appreciation of what we do.
Hmm.
Not just so much the commitment of what we put our bodies through, but there's a different level to a competitor, I think, because the sacrifice is so
Right.
much. Can Switching gears a little, can you speak to that? I mean, you're in a relationship, you've
Hmm.
had to teach, you've had all these responsibilities, you're not 21 anymore. Like, how
Hmm.
do you find the balance between the sacrifice between, what you have to do and what's a passion for you? It's like you don't want something to become work or feel like work, right?
Hmm.
So where's that balance?
I find that this is going to be a silly answer, but I find that that balance for me was pure luck.
Really? So just naturally you found this within you?
Yeah, honestly,
Mm-hmm.
it's again, it's going to sound kind of corny, but it's what we just talked about. Everything I have done up to this point has been because I was passionate about it and I felt like it was the right thing to do. And B, it was something that could directly supplement that. So I've only been doing this full time for maybe the last 3 or 4 years, teaching and everything like that. And a lot of it was just being there. Like
the opportunities presented themselves.
Right. A lot of people don't want to hop on those opportunities, like teaching the kids class or, signing people up or cleaning the toilets, because there's not a lot of money in it. It's like, it's not that instant gratification.
No, of course not.
So I just kind of hung in there and I stuck with that and I got a knack for it. Coming up, like blue belt, purple belt, I had to do other things. I had to deliver pizzas. I had to live in my car for a little bit. I had to, do other stuff, but it all paid off.
Yeah.
And I don't think there was any long-term plan laid out for the last 10 years of my life. I had a huge passion for this and I did what I needed to do to, make it work. And now I'm here.
Yeah.
And I'm really happy and proud to be here.
Yeah.
Looking back, it was all worth it.
It should, man. And you should be so proud. Yeah. And you should be. And it's inspiring. It's super inspiring. With that sort of really unique life perspective, you chased a dream, and you're able to live and it was all fueled by passion. And I think that's awesome. That's great. It's super inspiring, man. Let me again switch gears just slightly. I ask everybody, this is the only question I ever have prepared for anybody. And I just think that I'd be interested in knowing, do you have any books that you recommend? Like, was there something that from a literature perspective that inspired you?
No, I read really like goofy stuff.
Yeah. That's
I coincidentally, now that I think about it, I like to read a lot of stuff about people going on their own personal adventures.
So things that resonate with you. Do you consider yourself an artist?
Only when it comes to comedy, maybe.
Really?
Maybe jiu-jitsu a little bit.
See, I think Aaron, you're an artist, and like you're really cerebral.
Yeah.
You're independent. You totally go to the beat of your own drummer. And there's some expressionist in this. And I'll give you an example of that. Watch any Fight to Win fight. You're out there expressing, you're having fun, you're being unique. Man, I think like you're an artist. I think it transcends. So let's talk about that a little. You do comedy? Do you do stand-up? Or do you write comedy?
Dude, I've thought about doing stand-up, but that scares me more than competing.
That means you have to do it. That's the next bucket list, my man. You got to do it open mic.
No, I just like making people laugh. That's all.
Yeah.
Like I like to find like really elaborate jokes or like memes or whatever I can to like get a laugh out of somebody. But as far as like being an artist, I feel that mostly when I'm teaching. Like I feel like I can express myself more while I'm teaching. And when you're training or competing, there's not a ton of room for that, because if you go overboard, like you're gonna get tapped out.
yeah for sure.
But best example, I'm teaching a kids class, like I can be a little stern one moment, if they're being goofy, but then like as soon as I'm done teaching something, I can go back to the goofy side and like make them laugh. Like, so it's interesting you say that, because I feel all of those aspects come together when I teach the kids, and that's probably why I love it so much.
Yeah. And kids are very smart. We forget because we forget. We grow up and we're, and we forget that kids feel as acutely as we feel. They feel
Yeah.
as happy. They feel as
Yeah.
sad. They may
Mhm.
not have the words or the ability to express it,
Mhm.
but it means a lot to a child. They need discipline. They need to be roped in for sure to
Mhm.
get through something, especially jujitsu. But when you can have a break and like of levity and make them giggle and laugh,
Yeah.
they remember that,
Yeah.
and it's like, and you become a little bit more of a friend there. And those are sort of the things that they're going to remember more than maybe the Kimura lock they learned that day,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. And that's, again, inspiring. I'll say this, and this is totally off track, but
Mhm.
um, you mentioned memes. Your memes do crack me up. And you learn a lot about, or I feel like you can learn a lot about someone over social media, because it's how we choose to represent ourselves, right? This is what
Mhm.
we choose to put out there. And yeah, you do crack me up a lot for sure. But one thing I noticed about maybe you in particular, especially over this last year, tons of turmoil online, social media, again, lots of toxic stuff. But one theme I found, with a lot of the content you would put out there was, man, you fight for like the underdog. Like
Yeah.
you fight for the underdog. And
Mhm.
I say this with no political agenda on any left or right or any sort of thing. I just say that from a perspective of that was something that I appreciate it too. I see
Mhm.
what you put out there, and I learned a lot from you, Aaron. There's just certain things in the media that would not have been on my radar, I'll say, or that were under my
Sure.
perspective, that I have learned from you. And I don't know that
Mhm.
this was maybe the platform to share that, but I have you now, so I might as well just tell you, man. And,
Yeah.
and I
Thank you.
appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that about you for sure. I started going there because jujitsu, and then I hung out because I giggled. And then I was like,
Mhm.
oh man, and I've learned a lot too. So, I
Mhm.
just appreciate, keep being you, man. Keep putting that
Thank
stuff
you.
out there.
Yeah. That come again. Uh, those kids taught me so much, and a big thing they taught me is caring for your fellow human.
Mm-hmm.
So again, like you said, there's no political agenda. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
left. I'm not right. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
center. I don't even know
Mm-hmm.
what I am. I don't
Yeah,
care. I
sure.
don't like politicians or politics.
Sure.
Um, I just I don't like seeing people being stepped on,
Mm-hmm.
especially by people in positions of power. So
Mm-hmm.
if I can share a kind word or share some good information to help things move along, like
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not going to change anything probably, but
But
like
you
we were
are.
saying, like in the beginning, like a little bit of kindness
Mm-hmm.
goes a long, long way,
Mm-hmm.
and people appreciate it.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree, especially during such difficult, it sounds so corny, but during difficult times. I mean, it was hard to visit social media 3, 4 months ago. It still
Right.
could be in days. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
telling you, during those times, like, there were a couple of sources out there, and you were one of the places I could go to. So when you say it may not change anything, it does, man. Like, it for sure, it did for me.
Thank you.
And one thing I also appreciate is every time I see some really big dude, some article about like hitting a young woman or any woman or anything like that, you're the first one on it. Like, you're like, let's
Yeah.
get him. And I'm like, you're right. So I like that stuff too. Anyway, um, I've taken a lot of your time, a ton of it. So I'll kind of sort of transition out of this, but is there anything maybe, well, let me give you the opportunity. Is there anyone maybe you would like to give a shout out to, or send a word of kindness or anything like that?
Um, Man, be here all day. Uh, the Viana brothers in Chicago,
Mm-hmm.
love that place. Daniel Viana, that's
Mm-hmm.
another guy that I learned like how to do business, which is through kindness and being genuine.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's how you form. They always say like never do business with your friends,
Mm-hmm.
and in a lot of cases that's true. If you're a jerk, maybe I don't know,
Sure.
but um, I did business with him, and we ended up being even better friends at the end of it. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
learned a lot about kindness from him, good jujitsu,
Mm-hmm.
just all around good stuff. Evan Manweiler too. He doesn't get enough credit. He's another instructor at Fiana's. He's an Andre
Mm-hmm.
Galvao black belt.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
Great artist. Again, his kindness and, how you should treat people comes out through his teaching style, and like kind of the atmosphere he cultivates. That's I don't think anyone around here can beat that academy in that regard. Like just the sense of community and kindness and support.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the biggest things I learned from training there. If I wouldn't have trained there, I might be a totally different person right now, like an
Wow.
even bigger jerk than I am.
That's
Um,
amazing.
yeah, there's that. My girlfriend Tam for always being
Mm-hmm.
supportive. She's also my
Mm-hmm.
partner at Pika Pau.
Mm-hmm.
Love her very much.
Now, does she compete? Not to interrupt you, but I see pictures
Mhm.
of her as well. Yeah, I just haven't had the opportunity to meet her yet. Yeah.
She's killing it.
Yeah.
She won Master Worlds at Light Feather,
Amazing.
Master One Blue Belt. She just took a gold at Grappling Industries this weekend.
Wow. Wow.
Very,
Wow.
very technical, very cerebral.
Awesome.
She's amazing. She's
Yeah.
also a software developer.
Oh, cool. And she's also going to be an instructor.
Um, Not yet.
Okay.
She's still kind of enjoying the ride, but she's
Yeah.
gonna kind of help me with the business side of it
Sure. Sure.
because I'm
Hey,
um,
it takes a village. Like, and believe me, my wife is my better half in everything
yeah,
I do, for sure.
that's another thing about spending your 20s on the mats.
Yeah.
Like you learn a lot about people and life and good lessons, but
Hmm.
man, you miss out on so much education.
Sure, it's
You
true.
have to
Yeah.
be really proactive.
Yeah, it's true, and it's you can very easily get lost in chasing that dream, right? And the world
Yeah,
moves on without you. Your friends
right.
go on and get married and have kids, and all of a sudden you look and you're like
Hmm.
30,
Yeah,
and I get it, man. So I wrestled and I took it, man. I took it further than I needed to. I should have stopped way early, but I was just kept trying, and
it's like stepping out of a time capsule.
it is, yeah, it is, and the familiarity of it is it becomes really it becomes interesting becoming an athlete. This is a whole nother conversation we should have another day maybe, but
Yeah.
post 30 maybe, or after that first real significant injury, that
Hmm.
real one that you're going to carry a little the rest of your life and adapt
Right.
to. I think that there are positives that can come through those sort of things. Like you can maybe
Hmm.
develop a game and learn how to be more technical, and all that's great. But those battle scars change you, and excuse me, you sacrifice a little explosiveness or a little whatever it may be, and it's just different how recovery and other things have to start to become more of a prioritize. A little you have to prioritize them a little bit more as you
Hmm.
age, and that's something I'm sure you could speak to in
Yeah,
depth.
for sure. Not just within the sport, like getting better technically and whatnot,
Mm,
but it helps you get out of that mindset where it's like everything's about the mats. Like once I started getting hurt a little more often, it was
mm-hmm.
more about being a better mentor to the kids, putting more effort into that, putting
Yeah,
more effort into my relationships outside
yeah,
of jujitsu.
yeah.
So, I wish I wasn't as hurt, but
Mm,
I'm thankful for the other perspectives it gave me.
yeah, for sure, for
It
sure.
helped me grow a lot.
And one more sort of final thought here. Do you feel that I mean, jujitsu requires discipline. It
Mm-hmm.
requires thousands, hundreds, maybe millions of repetitions. As a competitor, you have to make weight. There are just things that require discipline and time and stuff. How do you feel like? Because I'm going to call you an artist. As an artist, how are you able to channel that into jujitsu? Like, how are you able to find? Because it's had to have required, oh, especially over the past 4 or 5 years. Even though you maybe I'll say lucked into these opportunities, they may have presented themselves into more full-time teaching and stuff. I think you're undercutting yourself, man. It took a lot of consistency and dedication to do that. To
Right.
yeah, make this come to fruition. This dream come to fruition.
Um, it's simplified for me in a weird way because I have ADHD. I have
Mm-hmm.
I have really hard time focusing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll get in really into like researching, watching matches, watching techniques, and I'll just get overwhelmed. And
Mm,
it always comes back to the simple fact that I just need to show up.
I love
I
it.
just need to be there. So for me, it was just like, need to be on the mats like 6 hours a day.
Mm,
And the rest just kind of happened naturally. You'd
mm-hmm.
be surprised. Like, I mean, I'm not saying this is the recipe to be a world champion because I'm not, but um, a lot of things will just come to you if you're there, if you're present.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then if you're somebody with a little better focus than I have, and you can supplement that, that's like you got a really good shot of doing some special things.
Mm-hmm.
So it's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say that's just my strength was I just had the ability, the passion to be there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And man, I feel like you're cutting yourself so short. You've accomplished great things,
Yeah,
and maybe look, and I'm somebody who's not a world champion either. You know, I'm not a world champion. And boy, is that dream still in me in some way,
yeah,
shape, or form. It's in me, and
yeah,
I'm not done yet. You know, but that aside, I think it's really important to know that I feel, at least at this point, your greater legacy is going to be with your students, my man.
yeah.
And you shouldn't be so hard on yourself. You say somebody that has the ability to pay attention more or not. You have great technique, and
Thank
you
you.
have an even better ability to articulate that to others and coach. And if there's 6 kids in a room or 40 kids in a room, that multiplies. And
Yeah,
and they come back and other kids show up and new kids show up and they go out. And it's not about jujitsu. It's not that 6 are going to go tell 6 other people and the world's all going to know. No, man. I think the legacy you're going to leave is somebody positive that cared and then gave somebody hopefully the ability to like physically defend themselves if they need it. And
sure.
that's super important too, you know?
I
So,
think that's like my lifelong goal with this sport is to,
mm,
you know, kind of move it away from the rough and tumble early days, like,
and
gang
then,
war, gang warfare with teams and whatnot,
oh, yeah.
and move it into like a more positive thing for people.
Yeah, absolutely. You're doing
That
it.
that's what I'd like to leave behind.
Yeah, you're doing it. That's a perfect place to wrap it, man. That's awesome. Thank you so much, Aaron. I learned a lot. I really appreciate you talking to me.
I appreciate it so much. Thanks for thinking of me.
Of
Means a lot.
course. Yeah, of course. And I wish you all the success in your academy. I'm 100% going to come by. I'll drop off some goodies and some energy drinks and stuff like that.
Oh,
And
thank you.
yeah,
Everyone's welcome.
yeah.
Everyone's welcome.
Awesome. Awesome. Do you want to leave the address or IG or anything like that so people can get a hold of you?
Sure. So we're probably going to be open in early March.
Okay.
We're in Aurora, Illinois, like directly off I-88 by that big outdoor outlet mall.
Yeah. Yeah. Great location.
Um,
Wow.
yeah, like across the street. It's great. So you
Wow.
can come train and then go buy
Yeah.
some Nikes
Yeah.
afterwards.
There you go.
The address is 1050 E Corporate Boulevard,
Okay.
Suite E, in Aurora, 60505. Um, if you want to check out the schedule, we have pre-orders up for some cool merchandise right now too.
Yeah.
That's at pikapowjj.com.
Mm-hmm.
We're on Instagram at Pikapow Jiu-Jitsu, and we have a Facebook page too under the same name.
Awesome. Thank you, man. Yeah, I ordered speaking of which, I'm glad you brought that up. I ordered
Yeah.
the yellow sweatshirt, the Be Kind, Do Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I'm going to wear it everywhere. Like, especially this winter. It's just, I can't
Yeah.
wait to get it.
Got to spread that good message.
You got it. You got it, man. Awesome. Thanks, Aaron. I really appreciate it again.
Thank you, John. I had fun. Thank you so much.
Take care.
You too.